So check out this scene here. I just saw this out of the corner of my eye as I was walking away from that plaza. And this G that represents Guanajuato is just absolutely beautiful. And I think this is gonna be a really cool place to take a photo. So here's the deal. When I first got started with photography, this absolutely blew my mind when I saw what I'm about to show you. And what I'm talking about is how we actually use our lenses as photographers, not how lenses are sold to us and not how we think we're gonna use our lenses. So what am I talking about? Let me show you. If I frame this up at a 0.5, and I kind of like this G with this Guanajuato sign, and I'm gonna take this photo. Now take a look at this picture for a second. See how small this church is in relation to this G. Now clearly you know at home, this G is much, much, much smaller than what that church is, right? That church is absolutely enormous. This G is maybe 10 or 15 feet tall. So what's happening here is perspective and compression. And it's really important that you understand this because that's how we decide what our photos are ultimately gonna look like because of the lenses that we choose. So I chose to start with my super wide angle because the super wide angle is gonna completely stretch out a scene. It's gonna take my foreground and make it look absolutely enormous and make the background look absolutely tiny. That's exactly how I can frame that entirety of that church or most of that church inside just the center of this G, even though this G is extremely, extremely small, relatively speaking. Now, let me show you what it looks like if I back up and keep that G relatively the same size here. I'm gonna take this photo one more time in 0.5, and then I'm gonna back up here, and when I get to a sufficient point, I'm gonna choose my 1x, maybe here, and get down low, and now you can see the difference on how I'm more compressing that background with my foreground. It's not as small in reference to that G. In other words, I'm compressing the scene and making that background physically larger in the frame by walking away and zooming in slightly. Now let's take that to an even more extreme as I move backwards and backwards and backwards. And then I'm gonna switch to my 2.5. And now with that G roughly the same size in the picture, I'm gonna go ahead and take another photo here and look at the difference, right? Now, what I'm gonna do is move back one more time and digitally zoom in just to really show you the power, the effect that zooming in using a more telephoto lens has on compressing a scene, basically completely changing the relationship between the foreground and the background. And then I'm gonna zoom in, I'm just gonna pinch the zoom so I can actually frame that statue right inside that G. Now, if you really look at these side by side, what is happening here? When I saw this for the first time, I was absolutely shocked. I'm like, wait, I can take any two objects. I can take a foreground and I can take a background, and I can completely change the relationship that they have with each other based upon where I stand. If you understand what the look, what the compression, what the relationship is going to be between the foreground and the background, how compressed that foreground is gonna be compared to that background for each lens, for your wide angle, for your normal, and for your telephoto. And you decide that first. Before you even bring that phone out of your pocket and your camera to your eye, you decide, I want this to be compressed so that church is larger than that G. Or, you know what, I think this will look cool if I can frame the entirety of that church inside that G. You decide your lens first, and then you pick where you're gonna stand. And you use your feet to compose your shot, not your lens. If you really get that, and hopefully these images drive it home, that will absolutely transform your photography, I guarantee you. Okay, now that we got that shot, let's move on. This video was a free preview of my Capture It All online course. In this course, you'll discover how to use your iPhone to literally capture everything that's happening around you. We'll talk about composition, storytelling, timing, photographing people, recording videos, time lapses, flying a drone, and so much more. If you'd like to use your iPhone to its fullest potential, please take a look at the full version of Capture It All. You'll find the link in the description right next to this video. So click on that link right now and I'll see you inside the full version of the course.